This is one of the most important times in the gardening calendar. Longer days, warmer soils, suddenly anything feels possible. And what you sow now can set you up both for productive summer harvests and crops for winter too. So in this video, I'm going to share the priority seeds you absolutely need to start this month. Summer staples like beans and corn, and winter hardy heroes that will see you to the end of the growing season and beyond. Then later on, a vegetable I've never grown before, and it's one I'm very excited about. Shall we? So let's start with a crop that absolutely loves the warmth of late spring. I'm talking winter squash. Now, when I say winter squash, I don't mean a squash that's going to be growing through winter or even harvested then. That would be ambitious for a tender crop. What I mean is a squash that is harvested towards the end of the growing season and then will keep right through the winter to enjoy as and when it's needed. Think things like pumpkins or acorn squash, butternuts, all of those rich, indulgent flavours. The best bit is that these types of squash store beautifully for many months in fact, which means that a single plant could be fueling you with meals long after the warmer months are done. Honestly, this is a time of year when the garden is running at full speed. Seeds germinate so quickly and young plants and seedlings seem to grow before your very eyes. This year I'm growing my sprawling winter squash amongst a stand of sweet corn. Not only will this save valuable space, but it's also two of the three sisters, a traditional planting method originating from the native peoples of Central America. Beans make up the third sister, which climb up the tall corn. The beans fix nitrogen into the soil, while the squash sprawls at ground level to shade the soil and suppress weeds. It's companion planting at its finest. I'm growing just two of the three sisters together because my beans are destined for permanent supports elsewhere in the garden. Not only will this help to add a vertical punch of interest, I reckon it just makes beans a lot easier to pick if they're on those supports. These are really beautiful chunky seeds. Now, one way to get them to germinate a bit quicker is just to puncture the seed coat here. You can use some nail clippers just to catch the very edge to break it, and then the water can get in. I've left mine in the house, so I'm just going to nip like that. Sowing's really simple. Just dibber a hole with your finger, just in they go like that, about 1 inch or 2 to 3 centimetres deep on their sides into big old plug trays here of all-purpose potting mix. Now I'm starting these off under cover in the warmth of a greenhouse. You could use a cold frame or go onto a windowsill, or indeed if you're in a warmer climate and it's reliably warmer, just sow them direct where they're going to grow. Summers have been getting a little bit warmer here, but a warm and steamy summer isn't a given. So I've chosen two winter squash varieties this year that can cope with slightly cooler summers. Now, we might get a warm summer, we might get a cool one, but this way I'm just hedging my bets and I'm in a slightly cool zone 8. And the varieties I've chosen are a red curry or uchiki curry squash, and new to me this year, blue Hubbard, both of which do quite well in temperamental summers. Now, red curry is one of my 3 absolute must-grow squash, and if you would like to know what the other 2 are, well, you'll have to watch our video on that, which I will link to down below. This bench is nice and warm for them here. Now, squash seedlings grow really quickly, so these will be ready to plant into a lovely sun-drenched spot I've got earmarked for them at the end of this month. And then I'll keep them well watered and well fed and so on, and they will be producing those glorious fruits ready to pick, the big chunky ones, at the end of the season. So next up is the corn of my 2 sisters. Now, I am sowing a super sweet variety which has been specifically bred to give exceptionally sweet, and I might say irresistible, cobs. There is absolutely nothing quite like a just picked corn of cob that's smothered in butter and gone straight into the mouth. Absolutely sublime. There is something undeniably satisfying about growing your own corn. Watching those stands swaying in the breeze makes the whole vegetable garden feel somewhat more, I guess majestic's the word. And of course, when you bite into them, that sweetness is genuinely unparalleled. It's so worth growing your own for that reason alone. I am starting this corn in these rather deep little root trainer plugs here because I want them to grow on a bit before planting them in amongst the squash, because I don't want them getting swamped straight away. They'd be better able to fend for themselves then. Now these root trainers are nice and deep, and what that is going to do is encourage the roots to go down so they get a good deep root system, which will really help them to support themselves when they go out there. You could actually just use something like toilet roll tubes as well, which have that nice kind of depth to them. And the seeds are going in just about an inch or a couple of centimetres deep like that. One per plug. Beautiful. It's very satisfying sowing these kind of knobbly old seeds. They've got real character to them. There's a little spider. I'm a little bit scared of it, but I'm just going to leave it in peace and carry on. My arachnophobia has got a lot better since gardening because I come across them all the time. But are you afraid of spiders? Let me know in the comments. Once these guys have germinated, they will grow fast in warm conditions, and in another couple of weeks they'll be ready to go outside to be planted into a block formation. Now this is important. Plant your corn in a long row, and the tassels at the top that produce the pollen, that pollen is more likely just to drift off and get lost. But plant it in a block and the pollen is far more likely to drift down to the silks down below, whichever way the wind is blowing. And every successfully pollinated silk means one more kernel and more beautifully filled cobs. And now for those glorious beans. I think every garden needs a kind of punch of vertical interest from beans, whether that's up a trellis, an arch, or a teepee of canes. It just adds more kind of three-dimensional interest and lifts the whole interest of the vegetable garden skywards as well. And this year, like every year, I am sowing two types of climbing beans, a fine French or filet bean and a flatter podded Romano or runner bean. And I'm starting them off in plugs here, like everything else, just to keep them safe from the slugs and to get them going in the warm in here. So let me show you what beans I am going to be growing. And I've gone for something colourful this year. Now I'm growing two types, as I said. The first one is this beautiful yellow one called Sunshine. Isn't that an appropriate name? It's a wax bean and it promises to be heavy cropping and over a long cropping period. And I think those are going to look great dangling down against the foliage. And then I'm also going for a moody dark purple bean called Black Knight. Don't those look absolutely stunning? Now the advantage of colourful bean pods is that they are going to stand out a bit more against the foliage. So they're going to be a different colour, you're going to be more easy to see them and then of course find them and pick them so none are kind of lost in the tangle of foliage. Just like our squash or corn, bean seeds are very satisfying to handle and they look really beautiful too. Look at these gloriously speckled beans here. Now they grow very quickly of course, and they'll be out straight against their supports by the end of the month, I reckon, after any danger of frost has passed. Now, if you're wondering when your last frost date is, take advantage of the free 7-day trial of our garden planner. You can enter in your details and it will match up with your local weather station to tell you exactly when you can expect it. And you can plan a bit better there. Now look at this. Oh, so beautiful. Doesn't that look pretty having them all on the surface, but we need to get them planted. So I'm going to just push them down about an inch or 2 to 3 centimetres deep. And then all this will need is a good water, a label of course, and then somewhere warm to help them along their way. The trick with beans, of course, will be regular picking, and it's only with an almost religious dedication to picking that you will get the most pods, which is a happy problem to have. And now for something to sprout about, Brussels sprouts. And it's a crop I'm really excited to grow because I can't believe I'm admitting this. I've never actually grown this winter hardy staple before. And I can't wait to see those tall plants with the little sprouts stacked neatly all the way up the stem. Brussels sprouts take quite a long time to grow, at least 6 months. So while they are predominantly a winter crop, in fact, spring is the ideal time to get them off the starting blocks. Now, I'm going to sow these into a plug tray because they take quite a bit of space. So initially just keeps them kind of contained for now. And you could sow them into a pot and then transplant the little seedlings, but I'm just going to sow them like this to avoid that step. And into each little depression I've made go 2 little seeds, and once they have come up, if I get 2 seedlings, then I will just thin them out to remove the weakest to leave just 1 in each little plug here. And just like other brassicas such as kale, cabbage and cauliflower, these will be grown on in here for maybe 4 to 5 weeks and then planted out. Now I'll just cover them over and I'll grow these on, of course, and they'll be planted out about 2 foot or 60 centimetres apart each way. These will be ready to pick from autumn onwards. Now, are they worth the space? Well, I reckon they probably are. Homegrown sprouts are going to taste so much better than anything you found in the supermarket that was picked days or even weeks earlier. And I know it's very early to be talking about Christmas as we're only just flirting with summer, but when you have your dinner plate and you've got your own Brussels sprouts on there that you've grown yourself, well, that's going to be a proud moment indeed, and I can't wait. Another fantastically indulgent winter vegetable is the parsnip here. These are the last of my winter crop that I've just dug up from over there. I thought I'd show them to you because I'm very proud. Roasted parsnips have a kind of sweet, almost sort of caramelized notes when they're all roasted and go kind of fall apart and burnt on the edges and sticky on the inside. Absolute indulgence. But as we lift the last of this crop, it's time to sow the next. There's little point sowing parsnips into cold soil, but now I can comfortably touch the soil with the back of my hand. I know this is going to be perfectly snug for our parsnip seeds, which is just as well because they can take 3, sometimes even 4 weeks to germinate. Now I'm going to sow my parsnips into drills, which are basically shallow rows like this, about 1 centimetre or ½ an inch deep. And if I get the seeds here, they're beautifully flat actually. And it's fresh seed because parsnip seed doesn't tend to last that long, so it's worth getting fresh if you can. Now I'm going to sow them, each seed dropping in about 2 to maybe 3 inches apart, like that, and just space them all the way along. I've got this battered up old packet of radish seeds here, so clever little trick, because these are really fast to germinate, is you can sow them actually within the row you've just sown your parsnips. They'll come up first and show you where the row is even, so you don't sort of accidentally hoe off the seedlings. And then they'll be harvested long before the parsnips need the extra space. So you're essentially getting 2 crops from the same row, which is efficient. Now the parsnip seedlings have a very distinctive look, so once those are up, it's easy to know what you're working with. I like to thin them in stages, removing excess seedlings and then the young plants until eventually each one is spaced about 6 inches or 15 centimetres apart. And then kept watered in dry weather, they can be pretty much left to get on with it until you're ready to lift them in the winter. Let's move on to something a little bit more fragrant, basil. Now nothing says summer quite like basil. Just brushing across those leaves releases that aroma. Sweet, slightly spicy and unmistakably Mediterranean. Basil is the perfect companion to tomatoes and fantastic in salads, pestos, all sorts of good things. And the more you pick it, the more it's going to grow. This time round I'm going to pre-wet the surface of the potting mix here, just to give it a bit of a charge up with moisture, as I'm using a mix that is mainly a seed starting mix, and that's quite dry. Now I'm using that because the seeds themselves are really very small indeed. You can see them here like little tiny beetle eggs or something. And then to sow, just take a pinch and just drop them over the surface like that. 1 pinch will do. And then once we've done that, we're going to lightly cover them over with, I don't know, just the merest smidgen of mix like that. Perfect. And then another water to just be sure. Now basil does like it nice and cosy to germinate, so to help with that and to raise the humidity, which will also help, on goes a clear bag like this. Once the seedlings come up, the bag will come off and I will carefully transplant the seedlings into their own pots, grow them on and then plant them with my tomatoes. The secret to getting plenty of basil, like so many other vegetables, is regular picking. That'll keep the leafy growth coming and you in aromatic goodness. If you'd like a little bit of help knowing exactly when to sow and plant where you are, then please do check out our garden planner. As well as advising on your last frost date, it will also produce personalised sowing, planting and harvesting dates unique to where you are. And the best thing is you can try it for completely nothing at all, just using our 7-day trial over here. Happy sowing, and I will catch you next time.